Surprisingly enough, a lot of players when talking about the fundamentals of Overwatch are a bit shaky as to what is going on, even in semi-professional levels. Because of this, IQ check compositions get a little bit too much value from time to time, not only in tournaments, but in competitive as well. In a VOD review I had recently with a team, I presented some basic Overwatch theory and decided that it might help all of you guys as well. While there may not be a whole lot going on screen, I hope that my lesson will help others within the community. That being said, this was my first session on Fiverr, and if you like what you see or want a more personalized session, you can find the link down below. I also plan on releasing the Moira guide next week, so make sure you subscribe, as I am sure there will be many tips in there that a lot of players won't yet know. With that all out of the way though, enjoy the video and I'll see you in the next one. Brawl dive spam. Just a recap of everything here. These are like the three basic ideas of comps. These aren't the only ideas of comps. I want to put that out there. These are just kind of like the basic things that I think through, and most teams think through before they really theory craft when new metas are coming out. And if anyone has any questions, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them, because going through this kind of theory stuff and like missing some of the basic stuff first, it's gonna be awful.
Yeah.
But we understand Brawl, Deathball kind of stuff, Rhine, Spam, Arisa, the Hanzo doing a lot of damage, and Dive trying to jump on things, bait out resources. So the arrows in between here, well, they mean two different things when I usually make this graphic. Pretty much it's how does each comp beat the other, and why are some comps just inherently meta? Like, why right now are all of the comps kind of useful? Well, I mean, these are questions that everyone asks themselves, and they'll just be like, oh, well, it's just because that's what they play. Well, that's not fun. You gotta learn what's going on. So the main thing, let's look at the Brawl versus Spam matchup. I'm probably not going to draw anything out just because I already have the graphic here, so it's a lot easier to talk about. So if anyone knows this, why, like, what against the Spam comp, it doesn't really matter what Spam comp it is. I'm just thinking specifically like Double Shield or Arisa Diva versus a Brawl like Rhine Diva in this sense, or Rhine Zarya. Like, what does Brawl need to do to beat a Spam comp?
Get close.
Yeah, close the distance.
Close the distance. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
It'd be crazy to think that there are tier 3 players that don't understand that. All right. So when Brawl is meta, it is because Brawl can beat Spam. In close the distance, and then vice versa. Why can Spam beat Brawl?
Because they can't. They can't close the distance.
Because they can spam before they get on to top of you. You kill. That's pretty basic stuff. Then we'll go into hybrid stuff after that. So Spam versus Dive. Then this is a little harder because it's a lot weirder, and it's kind of the same answer for both in a sense. But why can Spam beat Dive?
They do much damage.
Let's try this first, because it's probably easier to think that. How can Dive beat a Spam comp? This is a little harder to understand, so it's not like the end of the world if you don't understand it. Okay, so the reason why Dive in theory, and here's the thing, on this entire list, we'll actually go into that after. The reason why Dive is better than Spam in some scenarios is because the whole point of Dive is to force out cooldowns and to then push. Or, like, it's not, Dive is more than just, we went Winston and Tracer and Genji, we found weak support, we killed, lol. It's not like that anymore, because now we have Immortality Field, Fade, and all this other BS. So, and Dive is also not Double Bubble. I just want to point that out now. Dive is not Double Bubble. It is a variant of Dive, but it is a hybrid kind of comp, which we'll get into then. But the whole thing with Dive, so if I'm playing Dive against a Spam comp, even if they have Bastion, you could just go Ball. It's not going to be the best comp ever, but you could just go Ball Diva. And let's say they have like a BAP Zen. the main thing that you really are trying to do out of that dive as a ball is to, or as a ball tracer, as a team in general, is you're trying to force out this BAP to use lamp, get out, and then engage again. Like, the whole point of dive is to make them pressured to lose cooldowns, and then you can pretty much just roll them. Because what's an Orisa without Fortify? What's an immortality? Like, what's a BAP without immortality field and his shift? Like, they're practically useless at that point. It doesn't matter how much damage they do because you're just going to be able to dive them for free after that. And then Zen is kind of a free target as well, unless they switch to Brig, but then they have to switch their entire comp. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So spam winning against dive is literally just, you have to stop the dive before it even happens. While that sounds really difficult, with how much damage you have, it really is hard as a dive if dive characters aren't strong. And dependent on the map. But right now, I mean, spam is kind of obsolete, but spam dive hybrid comps have been pretty good. We'll get into that though. So now let's look at the dive versus brawl. This is another kind of weird one. How does dive beat a brawl? It's still kind of the same, right? I mean, like, you can dive a brawl, but if they all stay together, it's kind of tough. But if you dive brawl, like soft dive them and make them use cooldowns and then use your movement abilities to actually get out, they are now in a tough position because your cooldowns are likely going to be up before theirs, and then you just win.
What about if you can split the brawl? Would that also be another solution? Or
That's another thing as well. Against a good brawl team, they're probably not going to split.
Yeah.
But it is a possibility. Like, I see what you're trying to say here. If you're running ball and you try to displace them, that is also something that you can do. If that's what you're thinking. Because there was a meta at a point where it was like on Lijiang, it wasn't Garden, it was Night Market. We're on the same page here. It's like it's not the one where you can boop off with Pharah across the bridge, and it's not Control Center where it's like inside. It's like the dojo map. We're on the same map here.
Yeah, the Sim TP one.
Yeah, the Sim TP one. Like there were matchups where people would run Brawl with Rhine, and then people would also run ball comps there. The whole point of the ball was to kind of like slam most of the core and displace them, and try to get the Rhine to actually look at the ball. And if you successfully like IQ checked the Rhine and made him swing the ball, the rest of it and he just dropped shield, and then the Rhine team just loses. So that's another thing. Forcing the Rhine to have to or just forcing people to use resources when they don't have to. More oftentimes than not now that Brig's a thing, Brawl's winning. But with characters kind of losing power over time, dive, that's a possible thing. But the thing is that this is very basic, right? The ideas. But there's a lot of people that don't really understand how dive fits into spam and brawl. And I mean, when you think about this now though, in theory, if everything was specifically run perfectly, what do you think the best composition would be? And this is kind of opinionated, but I've been taught this a few times to have a kind of an educated opinion. I don't know if that's a thing, but
would it depend on the map? Like, it's not a...
It could.
Or is there just a specific one that's literally just better?
So here's the thing. In my opinion, from what I've seen, dive is in theory going to beat every comp if it is run absolutely perfectly. I mean, the communication is perfect, like ascending Overwatch League level, or getting close to it. Because if you've seen, the Korean servers tend to play a lot more dive than the NA servers. And the reason behind that is just because dive and ladder, why people are running double bubble in Korea more than people in NA. Because dive's really difficult, but it's a lot better. There's a whole lot of other reasons to go into that. But the thing is if your team can bait cooldowns and get out alive, dive will win every time. That's a little harder to do than said. It's easier said than done, obviously. But that's why you see a lot of, now that we're going into hybrid comps. Is everyone with me, by the way, before I move on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
100%.
Okay, so like this is the reason why you're seeing a lot more dive hybrid comps, which is these two, than like spam brawl hybrid, like 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 bulldozer but you'd run the bulldozer with like Arisa Rhine. But what I mean by bulldozer, it's not even a comp. It's like Rhine Winston Doomfist Reaper. It's some janky stuff, but like that's the closest to brawl spam I've ever seen. But that's why you're seeing dive hybrids a lot more, because of the mobility and the sheer amount of options you have. And that's why I mean, I could be completely wrong. Like, Finzi could say something completely different and more educated than me, and he could be like, well, it really depends on the map. Because it does. It does. But in a perfect world, dive is... The idea of dive is going to work a lot. And so, when I'm coaching, like, teams that are just trying to get better with synergy, it's really weird, but the method I usually say is, like, just try a scrim of just running dive with no crutches to get better at communicating. Because... like, and by what I mean by that is like Winston, Diva, Tracer, Genji. You could run Tracer Echo. You could run Tracer Sombra, and then Ana Lucio, and just completely rely on your skill as a team to listen to each other, make plans, do all that stuff. Like, that is something that you can try. Double bubbles should do the trick as well, but it's something that because it forces you to utilize the game as it was meant to be played. But let's go into hybrid comps. I don't really have a hybrid comp here that's really good, other than like you could run Ryan Arisa and ladder and play for just sheer damage and carry potential. But the reason why you're seeing these like kind of hybrid comps is, well, the reason why is just because you get options. They're really hard to run. So does anyone know what I'm talking about specifically really recently? Dive spam, the idea of it, what comp it was? It was probably about like, it was right before the BAP meta that we're in.
Wait, is that like Sigma Ball or no?
Yeah, Sig Ball with Echo, Ash, Mercy's End.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We kind of understand that.
Yeah.
That was it. It was a good spam comp, but the reason why it was with a ball and not an Orisa is because the ball can give so much more like opportunities, and that's why it worked on a lot of different maps. But the way that was played was to orb your ball, he engages, slams, you discord, you do so much damage before they even push. Now, why is this beating a Brawl? Well, because... Did we cover why Brawl beats Dive? I don't think we did. I think I skipped that. Brawl beats Dive by staying together on the objective and forcing the Dive team to push. It's very simple. Because if you force the Dive to jump on you, by playing the objective, and you force the Dive to try, like, it's really hard to split you apart and take your cooldowns, then it makes the Dive physically almost impossible and you lose. So that's why then people had to fiddle around with dive spam to beat Brawl comps with BAP, because BAP is busted. When you have spam, you can do damage with the ball so much so that you don't have to displace them that much. The spam will then make them crumble because they're getting displaced while you're spamming. It's kind of a mixture of the two. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm kind of going over the dive spam comp.
Yes.
Okay. And if not, just let me know. But that's why dive spam was big. But now that I'm talking about this, the main thing I want to focus on is double bubble. And really the current meta. Okay, you guys understand what I mean by that. I'm not writing out double bubble. Here's the thing, right? When you're pulling out double bubble, it really is map dependent. And the way that you want to play that, because I've heard that you're struggling with that, and the thing is I can't really help you out with your problems with double bubble if... Like, are you guys struggling with just playing double bubble?
Nah,
or playing against it?
I think that's a big reason for that is we tried to force rush against it and couldn't close the distance and couldn't get into good position. Like their Ana was just way in the back, and like we couldn't do anything kind of. But so we decided to like try to learn how to play that comp so we can like mirror it and play it better. So yeah.
Okay. So this doesn't the graphic here doesn't necessarily pertain. But if you're playing Brawl against a dive, actually it kind of does. So if you're playing Brawl against Double Bubble, you're playing against a dive Brawl hybrid. And do you know why I consider Double Bubble to be a dive Brawl hybrid? Like, what character in there makes it dive Brawl?
Saria.
Yes, because you charge that, right?
Yep.
So if knowing that as a Brawl team, you can literally play the objective, wait for Winston to jump, you see the bubble, you don't shoot it, and now she's effectively zero charge. Maybe that Winston zapped you a bit more, but if you're if your BAP is positioned in a good enough spot, he should be fine. And if you also have regen burst, and you also have Lucio heal amp, in theory you should be fine. Playing the objective against Double Bubble will generally give you the results that you need. The thing is, some maps it's really hard to play the objective without them just spamming you from far with like Echo or just getting Nano. Because here's the thing, what's the win condition with Double Bubble? And I'm saying that as Winston, Zarya, let's throw in Sombra, Tracer. You could run an Echo there too, but Sombra, Tracer, and Ana, Brig.
Farm the Nano. And
farm the Nano and give Zarya a charge with bubbles so that she can then brawl.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, there's a lot of weaknesses that Double Bubble has in specific maps. Like, what do they do if you just never shoot the bubble? I mean, like, at that point, she just wasted bubble rotations, and then you just get to stand on point even more. That's one thing. If you don't spam them before you push, and you force them to jump onto you, they can never get Nano. And like, while on some maps, that's easy. Like, say King's Row, that's good for both comps, but like Brawl can really use that strategy well. But if you're talking like Junkertown, like Brawl is, you're always in their line of sight. They're just gonna get to spam you. But if you can play corners and stuff and force them to push you, then you're good. They shouldn't win that when you have a Ryan and a Brig on them, because the Double Bubble Brig shouldn't push that far and get to live. Because at that point, it's like, why aren't they just running Ryan Zarya? You know? So this is kind of the point where it's like, I can't really tell you the exact problem you're having against or on the comp, because I can't really see it. But the idea still stands. Because like, what's your thought process right now on Brawl to beat Double Bubble? Like, what do you think the problem is to why you're losing?
I don't know. I think we try to shoot the bubble and give Saria a charge, and Monkey gets out when he's won, and they farm the Nano, and I think we take very good decision against it, at least.
So you just think that, okay. So the thing is that you're kind of, sorry, keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's also very hard to like commit on anything. Like,
yeah, very.
We can't close the distance some
that's the thing.
Time.
As Brawl, you don't need to. If you're playing against spam, you do need to close the distance, right?
Yeah.
Because they can just spam you from afar.
Yeah.
But dive, unless they're playing like an Echo or a Pharah, you're not going to need to push anything. You want them to push you, because you're Brawl. So let's say you're playing Nepal Village. Everyone knows what map that is. It's the one, it's not Sanctum where you can boop off inside, and it's not the one with the elephant. It's the one with the big square. Yeah, we're on the same page here. On that map specifically, that's like notorious. Like, you could run like if you mess up and run Brawl there, like whatever. But let's say that you guys on Brawl, you just rush point first on the first fight, and them on Double Bubble, they take the high ground, but they're running Tracer Sombra. You take point. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna jump at you with Winston? Okay, they bubble. You stand there. You look at him funny. You say hi as Ryan. What happens? They're like, oh shit, well, our Zarya has no charge, our Ana has no nano. Well, we have to just kind of take the fight or let them take point and just win.
Yeah.
Now, on some maps, the Echo can just spam. And then you're like, well, shit, at that point, you have to run double bubble. Like, you can't run Brawl there. I mean, maybe honestly, at Tier 3, you probably could. Because there are teams in Tier 3 that do the same mistakes you guys do, and they don't understand why double bubble works. And that's why Drifters won OD. Because, like, there's so many teams that are like, well, let's just shoot the bubble. Because Misi bubble, Minston feeding, but, like, he wants you to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why I always give people this graphic. Because it's really simple, but it kind of can, like, you look at it and you're like, what's your job? And I think this will help you guys a lot. And I can send this graphic into a general or something, so it's always that you can look at. Like, when you look at this comp and you're really struggling, you're like, what does Brawl want to do against a dive Brawl hybrid? Well, you just want to play objective. And if you can't do that, that's like the point where you're like, okay, this comp isn't good anymore. Or when there's like a really overtuned character, that's when you're like, okay, like we have to play that comp, or we have to do what we do better than they do. Because you can do that. You can, at the level that you guys are at, this is not hate, because like even at really high levels you can do the same thing. At your level you really could run any comp as long as you play to what your win condition needs to be. And as long as you identify that and you play together as a team, you will make you could make tier 3, you can make 4.4, you can make whatever you want, as long as you are together, cohesive as a team, doing the same things. The moment that here's the problem that I'm hearing right now. The moment that you play into their win condition, you will lose.
Yeah.
And that sounds super basic, but it's really hard to understand if you're not really looking at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Well, I actually have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
Well, if that's the case, wouldn't it just be best to one trick like dive, because it has the, because it can like win everything almost. Like, then long term, it would be better to learn how to play dive.
The problem is with learning dive, I to reiterate on this.
You need to be perfect with it. That's
you have to physically be perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we are not all Korean warlords.
Yeah.
That's just not happening, and it's not even gonna happen in Overwatch League, because there's specific comps that like you have to get shit down to like millionths of seconds for dive at some points to be proficient at that. I'm not saying it isn't possible, because in theory it is, but in reality it's pretty damn impossible. But to drive the point home, that's why you see a lot more hybrids between dive than you do spam and brawl. Like, you really aren't ever seeing this. And if you see this is when you should be like, hey Blizzard, you should fix your game or I'm gonna quit, because this is a problem. Because brawl and spam together really should not. I mean, that's not true. That's not true. I forgot about a comp. Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice brawl comp, that's... The thing is that it's not really the best comp ever. It's an IQ check comp, because it's very counterable with good dive. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Well, what is Fire and Ice? May and Reaper?
So Fire...
Right?
It's Orisa, Diva Orsig. I prefer Diva, because it counters dive, kind of. Orisa, Diva, when we ran out of attack mode, it was Torb May, Bap Lucio, I think? Or it was more Lucio. Same idea with those supports. And the whole idea was that you spam them enough until you're ready to take a brawl, and then you speed in and they die. Problem is like, when they just go Pharah on like Dorado, what are you gonna do? Yeah. They can just poke you out for free. Now on maps like Control Center, it's a lot harder to do that, but you could still run a Pharah there and kind of mess you up. The thing is like, the way the maps work, the way the games work, dive is on most maps just gonna be better. Or hybrids of those comps. But I don't want to tunnel vision you guys so hard on the fact that dive is like the best comp in theory, because there are specific maps like Control Center. That's always going to be a brawl spam dominated map. Like dive, sure you could run dive there, if you really wanted to, with like Pharah on the outside, and a bunch of teams do, it's very hard to pull off. But it's very annoying to play against if you do pull it off correctly. But at that point, you're spending like months and months of scrim time to perfect one comp, and it's just not efficient.
Yeah, true.
But it would be a better comp. But it's like, at what point? I mean, if we were all robots, then sure, go for it, program it. But that's tough.
I think this is exactly what we were thinking about with the coaching, like understanding fundamentals and understanding why and what we have to do, and like identify what's the problem here, why is this not working, and what can we do like to change that.
Yeah, and it's not like, the thing is that I see this problem in a lot of players, even in like, again, even when I left, it's like, it's not always rocket science, and sometimes just breaking it down, looking at something that looks so simple is like literally is the answer. Because I mean, sometimes it is rocket science. Like, sometimes there is some crazy shit going on, but right now, from the problems I'm seeing, and a lot of teams have that problem, it's just like making sure you're looking at what the enemy's trying to do and then just playing to yourself. Because here's the thing, and when you guys, because inevitably you guys are going to get better, you're going to play against better people. The moment you let the enemy team play the pace of the game they want to play to their win conditions, and you're trying to react to them, you will lose every single time. I don't care how good you are, if they are getting to do what they want to do, you're not going to make it easier for yourself. So now that that's out of the way, the whole points we're saying here is there's specific comps that work better on specific maps, and understanding what the comp really wants to do. So now that we say that, trying to think here. The main comps right now really are just Ryan Brawl and Double Bubble. Like, the reason why this dive spam stuff doesn't work anymore is because Ashe doesn't one shot, which was kind of big. And Double Bubble can just sustain it now. Dynamite's still really good. I just think Double Bubble's better. I honestly thought it was always better. It was just harder to run, but now it's easier to run, so now you run that instead.
I have a question.
What's up?
What is the DPS lineup in Double Bubble usually?
It really depends. The main three that you're going to be looking for, personally, I like Sombra and Tracer.
Yeah.
You could throw an Echo in there too. You could. I don't think it's really that good. I mean, I don't remember what Overwatch League ran. Was it really Sombra Tracer? I thought it was. We can look at some VODs. Can you guys see my screen if I pull this up?
I just see the paint screen.
Okay, let me reset. Screens. This.
Yeah.
Just look at some like OWL Melee 2020. That's not how you spell it. Melee. I don't know what they called it. 2021. May Tournament Finals. Yeah, we can actually look at some VODs. This might actually be a good idea. Because maybe there's some variation in comps and stuff. Is this an ad? What is this? Shanghai versus Dallas? Ooh, that would have been a fantastic game. Okay. Is this Valorant? What the heck? Can we find a game?
The struggle is real.
Can we find a game? Any gamers? Cool. Yeah, okay. They're not even running Double Bubble all the time. Sometimes they're just running Dive. But this, okay. So yeah, it came to a point, right? Because when you get fixated on, I don't want you to get too fixated on a comp either, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at this right here. They're pretty much running Double Bubble, right? But why are they on Diva and not Zarya?
Because of the Aqua, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
lot of hype.
That's the
To
thing.
eat the stickies and because she's
And
a high
it's
damage
also look at
output.
the map. Look at the map.
Yeah.
It's watch point. So like, what's the Zarya really gonna do?
High.
And the other thing is, I mean, this is Doha. Like, this is
Yeah,
something
exactly.
scary on the Echo. Like, you really don't want him doing whatever the fuck he wants. You're gonna want a diva. So that's the thing when you're looking at Overwatch League VODs. It's like, well, like, are you really gonna run into someone as good as Doha in Tier 3 or in 4K? Like you could probably get away with just running this Zarya. But like, this is Overwatch League.
Mhm.
And to be honest, they probably switched off Zarya at some point. Oh no, they started. This is like, the thing is with this game is like, this comp's like old stuff, and then you're literally just playing off of like the mechanics that the players have,
Yeah.
but the ideas of the comps still stand, because they eventually went to counterpick to something that's a little bit something. Yeah, dude, this okay, maybe this game wasn't the best. This game probably wasn't the best one to pick up. But because what they're doing this entire game is they're counter swapping based on what the enemy team is playing, because of the players that are being played. And these guys have been playing since like Apex of 5 years ago. So they know each other really well. But I mean, Double Bubble, I would say Sombra Tracer is probably your best bet. It really depends on the map, but Sombra Tracer is really strong there. And you're really just playing to get nano off of your Winston. And you're not really like feeding. You're just trying to make them shoot your bubbles too, because then you can just take a brawl fight with Nano Winston and a high charge Zarya. It's a lot harder to do while they keep nerfing Zarya, because I don't know why they're doing that. They should be nerfing VAP, but
I agree.
It's really hard because I don't really want to review this VOD, because it's something that's very hard to attain and find in your own scrims. So I'm not too sure. Without real VODs, I can't really say much.
Okay, so we actually have found a scrim which we can play
right now. Or like
right now.
Okay, that's fine. I'm down to spectate. Is it? I'm assuming it's EU servers.
Yeah, it's EU servers.
Okay.
You can probably does the ping affect the spectating stuff?
No, it should be fine.
Yeah.
Let me just be right back. Let me close this out real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
So guys, if you do have any questions actually about this, if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'm probably going to end up uploading this, just let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you have any questions, you can join the Discord if you'd rather just DM me there. And if you want to get your own team coached, check out my Fiverr. The link will be down below. I'd be happy to help anyone out. And come by my streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 4 p.m. EST. But until next time, guys, I gotta peace out and Paz out. I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.